Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Wander and Muse. Today's guest is the fabulous Martin Fontes. Hello.
Hola.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good. If those of you don't know of Martin's Comida Chingon, it's on 4th Avenue, 555 North 4th Avenue in Tucson, Arizona. We're sitting in the main area right now. Amazing artwork everywhere. So much character. It's amazing. So let's back up and tell us, how did this all come to be? You start from the beginning.
Well, I started in the kitchen at El Charro downtown for 8 years, and it helped me a lot while I was taking care of my mother.
Right.
And when she passed away, I went through some thinking for a couple months, and then I said, why don't I attempt to have my own restaurant? Because I never clock watched in the kitchen. So I decided, you know, I can do this. So I saw a space on 4th Avenue. I'm like, I decided to be on the west side because there was less sun than the east side.
There you go.
That was my only decision.
Tables.
So, yeah, and a couple of weeks later, I got the property, and it was in shambles. Like, it didn't even, there was a hole in the roof. There was nothing here. But I went through the permit process. I learned a lot, and within 7 months of working every day through Christmas and Thanksgiving, I opened up within 7 months with the permits and everything.
That's awesome.
And I just had the front room. And
I remember those days.
And then
it was soon
after that, I started putting, somebody gave me some cheap patio furniture from Home Depot I didn't want. And I started putting it outside, so I made more seating. And the city used to demand permits for you to put patio furniture on the sidewalk. But then the mayor decided that we had an easement that was natural for 4th Avenue.
There you go.
And after I did that, everybody started putting chairs outside Epic Cafe and Brooklyn. And it became this thing where it was cool to sit outside like in Europe.
For sure.
A year and a half later, the unit next to me was opened, and I, instead of asking for permission or forgiveness, I just did it.
Exactly.
Within a week, I already had the room full, and it's been... It hasn't been a fast growth, but every day is a little better than yesterday, and I'm still here.
Right, and you started May 9th of 2001.
May 9th of 2001.
That's a long time ago. Good for you.
And I got my permit on May 7th, 2001, and I've been in the construction business so long, I was freaking out because I had to make a menu. I had to start doing it. Right. But in 2 days, I already had a menu, and I just started doing whatever I could to make money.
Now, are these mostly your grandmother's recipe? Tell me more about that.
The thing with us growing up, you know, we used to eat at home only, and on the weekends, they treat us to go out to eat when we get out of school. But there was 3 hot meals always in our house, and I pretty much picked the things that I liked, and I put them in a menu.
Right.
So the things I like making and I've always made, and the things I like serving, and things I think will be popular.
Right.
So I pretty much, my intention was to make and it was like the first hipster restaurant, because before this, it was very like standardized with a sarape and a Mexican calendar and an embroidered shirt by an old lady bringing you fried food. So what I did coming out of a charro, I made sure that there was no deep fryer. There was no freezer. There was no microwave. There was no television.
Right.
And there was just going to be the philosophy was art, food, and music.
Yes.
So when you come here, you'll you'll hear the music. It's not just the muffled background sounds. You'll actually hear music,
good music,
and really good music.
We have it turned down right now so we can talk.
Absolutely, and you know, and this is what it is. We greet you. We greet you right away with chips and beans, and the beans come from my family's farms in Sinaloa. They're growers and in agriculture, and we serve something called mayocovas, and they're just lightly salted. And we greet you with beans, and we make agua frescas, and we pretty much have our standard, and then we make one fresh fruit one. Normally, I let it ripen before I make it, so I don't have to add too much sugar.
Right, exactly.
So our food is the healthier side of life. We make our chorizo out of soy. We've been making it for 23 years. We've been making everything as healthy as we can.
Right.
The calabacitas are not made with milk. I learned from taking care of my mother and working at El Charro that you can actually take care of all the populace by keeping everything vegan except for the meats, the cheese, and the eggs. So the chips, the tortillas, the salsa, the rice, the beans,
Right.
Everything is vegan except for what is not, and it's easy to take care of everyone.
Exactly.
Instead of just taking care of like, oh, I'm sorry, everything's fried, or but no,
right,
and
exactly.
it's very good.
And I feel like you definitely can sense the passion that you have when you eat your food. Like it has this soul in your food. Don't you think,
definitely,
right?
definitely. And there's no pools of oil, and it just kind of feels really clean. And here, I mean, our portions are very generous, and you can eat a big portion, but you don't feel like heavy.
That's true. That's
you know what I mean?
True.
You'll feel satisfied and maybe full, but you don't feel like compromised by like what would be a fried French fries and a really heavy burger.
Exactly. So how do you stay motivated? I mean, do you ever have those days where you're like, oh, another day to make the beans, or you're like, yes, another day to make the beans? How do you feel about that?
Sometimes it very few times I feel unmotivated, and it's usually not because of me, it's because of other elements, because there are so many elements to running a restaurant that sometimes it's like you feel a little defeated, but as soon as I have my coffee in the morning and I walk out of my house, I get into that super ego, like, all right, let's get him, Tiger.
That's awesome.
And
Time to make the donuts.
Right. And one thing I learned early on is that I really enjoy going to see my providers. Like I go see, I pick my own vegetables every morning. Every morning I go to grocery stores and places to pick up my provisions. And I love seeing my vendors and talking to people. And I don't get things delivered because despite the convenience of bringing you your squash, let's say, you can reject it, but you'll still end up with no squash. So why not just go to the grocery store and use that credit card, I opened up the restaurant with $60 in the bank.
Did you really?
Yes. And I still have $60 in the bank.
But you fed a lot of people.
And a lot of
people really happy.
A lot of people paid their rent. A lot of people paid their vacations. A lot of people,
That's great.
But
you know what I'm thinking?
I still haven't paid my initial investment into it, but somehow I forgave myself.
That's awesome.
The loan that I put in here.
Right. You know what I'm thinking about? That movie, Like Water for Chocolate, where the woman is crying into the cake batter when she's making the wedding cake, and then everybody's at the wedding and they all start crying after they eat the cake. I mean, do you ever feel like when you have a good day, a really happy day, or a bad day where you're just frustrated with something, do you feel like it gets into the food, or do you feel like your food always has that?
I definitely, the food never is compromised at all, but sometimes I can make the food better. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm going to put like an extra garnish on it, or I'm going to make sure that this is really well toasted, or, like, extra. Especially when, you have like a VIP or like maybe another chef in the room, and I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to twist his mind right now. Watch this.
Right.
No, look at this. I'm going to make the food a little better. Watch. What do you mean? Yeah, watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, definitely. And sometimes, of course, I'm not always up to my vivacious self, but when I am, I normally karaoke to my music in the kitchen.
Right.
I greet everybody when they walk in. I sit them down. I always take their order and make sure they get what they want. Right, exactly. Very infrequently do we ever make a mistake. Right. That's very, because
I know at your reviews, and your reviews predominantly are 5 stars. Yes. I mean, of course, you'll have those squeaky wheels here and there, but predominantly people are raving about you. So how often, what percentage of your clients are repeat clients, and what percentage come here because of word of mouth? Or that
it's funny because the Yelp and Google reviews are funny because most of the time when there's bad, it's just a personality conflict. It really has nothing to do with the food, right? Or the place or anything. That's true. Huh? They just didn't like what I had to say or whatever. Right, but it's really funny. But I do get like people that are traveling to California from Texas or from the East Coast. They get off the freeway to come here. That's awesome. And yes, definitely. What a nice compliment. And then people will say they're from Portland, and they said, I talked to my friend, they said, definitely come here. And it's very flattering. Yeah, I even get people from Europe, like during the Gem Show and other times, and they say, yeah, dude, I read you like in a European travel guide to America. That's so and I'm like, cool. You're kidding. I said, okay, cool. Wow. So what do you think? And they kind of enjoy it because it's not like the typical American food that is processed. Right. So they kind of enjoy it because they know that, like in Europe and Mexico, everybody's kitchen, every restaurant is different.
Right, exactly.
So they get into the spirit of things, like, what do you do? Let's do it. You know,
that's very cool.
It's not like in this country where they want, you know, Pizza Hut to taste the same in New York as in Tucson, and everything's so standardized. So,
right, exactly.
But they know how to celebrate the difference in every restaurant.
Right. Something that I've learned about you from following you on social media is how often you get to make one of your amazing meals for the performers at the Fox. So Daughtry was just here, right?
We just did that yesterday. We just finished cleaning all the equipment.
Yeah.
And then I just got we're gonna, on Tuesday we're doing the Led Zeppelin tribute band that is sponsored by Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
and
wow.
They asked for me specifically because I did it last time.
Oh, that's
so it's
cool.
really flattering. And a lot of the managers, I've been doing that for like 23 years because
wow.
the original startup of the Rialto, and then Doug Biggers that took over.
Sure. Then
I've been doing so many bands since then that a lot of times the managers themselves will call me directly on my phone and go, I'll be there so-and-so and this and that. And I said, I got to know what. Yeah. More or less, I just need to know about dietary restrictions, because sure. There's always a vegan, there's always a nut problem, right. There's always something like that. But you can work with that. I accommodate everybody, which I'm really good at. Right. I'm excellent at it.
And you do catering as well.
I do as much catering as possible.
Right,
yes,
that's great.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
You can either pick it up or I have it delivered for you and things like that.
That's sure. Fantastic.
I try not to get involved into like weddings because they're just so serious that I'd rather be the rehearsal dinner or the party afterwards. But right. I don't want to talk about having a cookie on the top of the knife at 8:25 and 30 seconds, and you know what I mean, and worried about
that's
like
so awesome.
You know what I mean. So, but if it's a small backyard wedding or something, I'm all about it. But a serious wedding, no, I don't. Right. Not my thing.
And since you are so talented with everything you make and you have such a vivacious personality, have you ever considered those cooking competitions or whether televised or not?
I haven't, but I know I'd probably be good at it.
You might be good at it. I can picture you doing really well with
daily I make my staff something different to eat every day.
That's fantastic.
So I'll get something and I go, what are you going to eat today? We're going to eat this swai fish. I've never had it. Right, we're going to do something with it. Right. And if you ask any employee, they've never eaten the same thing twice.
So do you want to stay in this space or always keep expanding? Like, what do you think?
You know, right now, the greatest deterrent I think everybody has in the restaurant business, and it started happening about 12 years ago. Right. Is that it's hard to get staff and get people to be motivated, you know.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but I worked myself through college with all my friends as a busboy because 15, because it was awesome, because you'd have cash in your pocket and you get to eat. Exactly. And it was perfect as a college student and a young person, you know.
Right, right.
But
it's a good way to learn people skills.
It's great to learn people skills. It's great. It's a nice social job. When you're actually good at it, your time flies because you're so busy and you're walking around. It's physical. Yeah, yeah. And it can be a lot of fun, but that is the biggest problem. So I don't understand how people are opening restaurants and restaurants and restaurants. It's like, it is the biggest problem I have.
Yeah, and you do see signs sometimes. They'll be like, sorry, we're closed.
No, definitely. You know, I've had that problem recently in the summer. And, wow. You know what I mean? But I still show up to work by myself. And I'll open by myself. But a lot of times I'll come in. A lot of times I'll come and work by myself, and I can handle it up until a certain point. But I won't take a lot of the furniture out, but I can do it. As you know, I'll wait on you and then go make your food, and a lot of the customers will find that kind of charming. You know, if like for some reason, you know, the employee texts you and says he can't come in the last minute, because it happens all the time. Right, right. They don't even call you or anything. It's kind of a weird atmosphere now with employment.
The work ethic.
They're more interested in spending the money they haven't made than actually earning the money they're going to make.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Right. I know.
So it is.
It is really difficult.
It is a problem. I get it.
It is. It's huge.
Totally get it. So let's see. You've talked about how you were kind of switching things around to make your family recipes healthier when your mom had diabetes.
Yes, absolutely. You can go around the corner. Like my mother couldn't have salt, so what I did, I added more garlic. So the garlic kind of like gave it so much flavor that it kind of like substituted the salt.
Right.
So, you know, if she can have, she can have toast, but if you toast the toast, it burns off the sugar in the bread. You can give her toast, you know.
Right.
And then the nopales are really good to control your sugar.
Okay.
So I serve nopales.
The prickly pear for people who don't know.
The prickly pear cactus.
Yeah.
The one that's in the Mexican flag.
Exactly.
So that actually controls your sugar. And I make recipes that are cold. And then a lot of times, to be honest with you, I'll go in my backyard or I'll drive by and I'll go, wow, look at the nopal. And I'll cut it and I'll come in and I'll make it and I'll cook it.
Fresh.
Yeah, and I'll fish it. I mean, it's
called
farm to table or whatever. I mean, organic or whatever. I see it in my backyard or I see it on the street or in the sidewalk. Yeah. And you use the new shoots, of course, not the old ones that are like fibrous. But, you know, I see some and I keep a box in my car and I just like cut a few and bring them back here. Right. Today, in fact, that's my next thing. I'm gonna cook some nopales. And then I add them to the vegetarians here and there or on top of the taco. And I fry them really well on the grill, and they look like French fries on the top.
Right, people don't know.
And then people go, "Whoa, am I eating cactus?" Yeah, dude.
Yeah, they're good.
They're really good.
Yeah, kind of a cross between almost like a potato jicama sort of. I don't even know how to describe it.
It's like a green vegetable.
It's sweet, but it's a vegetable, but it's not, but it is.
And if you don't cook it well enough, it kind of tastes like okra.
Oh, right, exactly. So what else do you want people to either know about your journey from, you know, your family's kitchen to here, or even
one of the things I've always been comfortable in the kitchen. I've always cooked because we were 5 boys, and it was always a ladder. And then I was probably a product of a drunken stupor because I came later. So my mom would just leave me alone on Saturdays when I was like in 2nd grade. And one day she came in and said, "Did you just cook yourself an egg and toast? And what did you do?" Because she'd go grocery shopping early while I'm watching cartoons. But we never ate cereal. I mean, my mom always made these elaborate breakfasts and stuff like that. So right away, I just by watching my mother, you know, and watching the lady that worked in the kitchen too, just watch them cook and stuff like that. I just started cooking myself and making my own food and paying attention in the kitchen. You know?
Right, exactly, and learning from them.
Yeah.
So are all the recipes in your head?
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yes. And then I'll go try, if I really like somebody's food. For example, about 10, 12 years ago, I took a vacation to see some family in Ensenada in Baja California. And we went to some fancy restaurants that were doing phenomenal things in gastronomy. The Mexicans are. And I had Jamaica tacos in 2 different places. And I kind of didn't really like them. And on the way back, all I did was think about how to make them better. Okay. And then when I got back, I thought about what it would take to make them delicious, you know. And I do. I make them. I make Jamaica tacos here. And I like the way I make them better. Yeah. Because one of them made it in a fried taco, and I think it just ruined it. And then the other one was a little too tart. I think you added more. But when I came back, I just decided to like put complimentary vegetables in it and cook it for a long time and really soften it.
So you're a mad scientist, but with food.
Yes. I think about
chemistry.
I dream recipes when I'm taking a shower in the morning. I think about what I'm going to make these guys for lunch.
That's so cool. Man, when I grew up, I was making fried bologna and cheese, and you were making like the really good
I was making eggs and, you know, for sure.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right, well, all this talk about food, I think I need to order something. But
cool. I just made a batch of red chili.
Your favorite. I'm going to eat that. You know I am.
Yeah, and we make the red chili on our own, and then we stew the beef in it, and like it's really good. We use the Mexican oregano, which is really pungent. It's got really good flavor.
That's cool. Well, thank you, Martin Fontes from Martin's Comida Chingon on 4th Avenue in Tucson, Arizona. Everybody should definitely stop by. And check out the other interviews I've done with other creatives. Follow Wander and Muse with Heather on any of your favorite podcast apps. And be sure to like and follow and subscribe and all that stuff. Have a really good day. Thank you.
Awesome. How'd it go?